Smooth AI podcast number 4, which is
Podcast
just
number 4 now. Yep. So
crazy.
it's going in the right direction, which is great news. Hopefully, people are finding these useful.
Yeah, definitely. That's so crazy. Um, so today we're going to kind of talk about a few bits and pieces. We did our free webinar yesterday on mastering AI for business owners and how they can use it and everything in their businesses, which went really, really well. We had so many people join it. It was so useful.
We had some really good questions as well. So I always think that's the best way to sort of like get the most out of it because so many people are going to get a benefit from that one question, even if they're not quite confident enough to ask it themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Like one of the questions we had was about um
Cookie control.
cookie control. Sorry, get my words out. Cookie control. Yeah. So remind me, what was the question? And we now have a bit more of a detailed answer from Luke, our data protection expert.
Yeah. So I mentioned the fact that you should have very clear cookie control settings when you log in to any website. It should be like the first sort of step to you understanding whether that is a website or a company that you'd want to share your data with.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that you should have three options, which was accept all, reject all, and accept essential only.
Yeah.
Now, Luke's corrected me on that slightly, where he says, or reject all and accept essential only are effectively the same thing because there are certain cookies that the website needs to run just on a very basic level. So if you were to
Okay.
reject all in their entirety, the website just wouldn't run for you. So that's not.
Okay.
So Luke said, as long as it has one of those two options of reject all and accept essential only, being the same thing effectively, then
Yeah.
that's a really good first step for you to move forward with that company, which was really useful to know.
Yeah. No, that was so useful. Because that cookies thing comes up like, oh, obviously, well, it should, and every website that you go to. So, and most people, I think, really genuinely don't even know what that means. Like, just like, it's annoying when you're trying to, especially when you're in a rush and it's like ping, ping, but it's so important.
Yeah, and Luke's really clear on that. He calls it the dark arts, where they'll put like reject all like behind X amount of clicks. Like you just want
Yeah.
to get into the website and you have to like click through like more options and then scroll through like a page worth of stuff. He doesn't like that and said like
No.
that's being sort of cloak and dagger about what they're doing with your data. Like it should be really easy for you just to get into that website in the same way
Yeah.
that most of us are like, oh, just accept, just go away.
Yeah.
And I consciously don't do that anymore because of the conversations I've had with Luke.
Yeah, definitely. So Smooth AI, we have opened the doors to new members, yay, for a week only, which is super exciting. And we had lots of people join yesterday, so really thrilled about that. And as part of being a Smooth AI member, people get a recorded webinar every month on a new AI process and topic and basically kind of step by step guide. And this month, no, next month, August, or almost in August, it's going to be about Scribe. So, can you tell us a little bit about Scribe?
Yeah, fab. So Scribe is something that's been knocking around for a while. Um, and it effectively will monitor your computer when you set it live, and it will follow all the steps you're taking, so all of the clicks and all of these sort of bits in your process.
Mm-hmm.
And it will document them for you. So historically, I think we've all done this. We've sort of taken screenshots as we go, copy and paste it into Word,
Yeah.
get frustrated with the format, and then have
Yeah.
to tweak it over and over again because if you change one thing, it messes up the entire Word format. So this is what Scribe does in your place. And the AI features it are you can get it to write all of the text around what it is you're doing to have really solid descriptions. So effectively, you can complete a process
Mm-hmm.
and then know it will be recorded and documented with clear descriptions as you go along. So it's going to be a massive time saver and
Yeah.
then it will allow you to standardize the process. And I know in the past, maybe I always get rid of like glossing over certain steps. It's like when you're print screening, you might miss something that you think is obvious. With Scribe, that's not going to happen. So your team aren't going to think, how on earth has Sam jumped from A to D?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
two steps in the middle, which I think is a
Yeah.
really good feature.
Um, I'm just going to let everybody know as well on LinkedIn that unfortunately we're not streaming live to YouTube. I'm just going to be sorry, not working. I apologize, everyone. It's totally my fault. I should have tested it and I didn't. So hands up, massive apologies. We will post the recording onto my channel literally this morning. Um,
Yeah, so and equally, if you are watching this back later, please do drop us some comments in the YouTube channel, and we'll do our best to come back.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah,
really good
definitely.
opportunity to get everyone involved. I think these podcasts because we want to hear like how you're using it, and
Yeah,
the wins are great, but I always like to hear about how it hasn't quite worked out as well because you hear so many like amazing stories in the news, and it's not always quite
yeah,
true. So it's nice to
yeah,
hear how people are like struggling as well, just so we can hopefully guide them in the right direction or
yeah,
sympathize because we've done the exact same thing is
yeah.
a likely outcome as well.
Definitely. And so just touching on Scribe again then. So I know we use Loom a lot in the businesses to record, obviously what we're doing on screen. How is Scribe kind of different to Loom? Obviously, I know it gives you written documents. So is that the difference? It's giving you a written step-by-step guide as well as a visual?
Yeah, so ultimately it's gonna give you a process document to go through. So
Right.
for me, it's going to allow you to teach people in different ways. Everyone learns differently,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of businesses are guilty of just funneling down the one route,
Yeah.
and they might have really old process documents that they haven't had time to update. But ultimately, everyone is going to learn at their own pace and learn in different ways.
Yeah.
And equally, like the people that are delivering the training may not feel comfortable um, recording a video, and so many people don't like the sound of their own voice.
Hmm.
I've had to get past
Oh,
doing
I
these
hate it.
podcasts and these webinars, having to listen to yourself back. So if that's something that your team are uncomfortable with, Scribe's a really good alternative.
Yeah.
Um, and equally, it's something that sometimes a written document is better to refer back to. You don't want to scroll through an entire video and go, well, where was that one section that I've forgotten? Whereas you
Yeah.
can look at a document, you can very quickly identify the bit that you're struggling with. So I think it's got different case uses. And I think definitely in smooth accounting, we'll probably be doing a lot of processes under both
Yeah.
so that people have the opportunity to pick their preference for learning.
Definitely. No, that's exciting. I'm excited to find out more about that, and I'm sure Luke will be vetting it as well
He
to make
certainly will.
sure it's all safe. So, we mentioned briefly before this podcast about the competition that seems to be out there in the AI world. What are you hearing on the grapevine?
Yeah. So there's been a couple of quite big jumps this week in different areas. So the first one was Facebook have released their new um, chat model, which was Llama 3.1,
Mhm.
which is on par with ChatGPT that everyone will have heard of, and Claude that I've mentioned a few times, and
Yeah.
also Google who have got Gemini. So
Yeah.
that's a really big step forwards.
Mm.
And Mark Zuckerberg is also committed to it being open source, which basically means everyone can see how it works,
Right.
which I think means there'll be a lot more shoot offs and a lot more AI companies sort of setting up and using this within their own sort of models. So I hope
Yeah.
the stranglehold we've seen with these few companies dominating the market, which obviously leads to a risk of sort of people being priced out, won't
Mm.
be allowed to happen because there's going to be everyone's going to be able to see how these models work, especially from Meta, so we can explore and have lots of healthy competition. So I was really pleased to hear that because I think
Mm.
some, when you look at the tech boom sort of 15, 20 years ago, that didn't necessarily happen. And you
No.
see some of the larger tech companies now that still have that monopoly.
Yeah.
So if we can avoid that from the start, it's going
Yeah.
to make this opportunity available to everyone.
Yeah. And, like it's like with ChatGPT having like the free model and then obviously the paid version and things. Or of course, I understand like it's a business, it's got to make money and stuff, but it's people not knowing necessarily like whether the free version is safe and how ethical that is about your data and all that kind of stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's going to keep coming out with because Meta have been in the news in the past about issues of data and what they've been accessing and stuff like that. So I'd be really interested to see how they are going to develop their AI product.
Yeah, that's really true. It's really interesting to see how they all perform on a par as well. So there are
Mm,
metrics that you can go out and see, and it's sort of tables about how they perform. And
yeah,
this model from which is called, let's say, Llama, has been shown to be on par with the other three main competitors, which is really interesting. But
yeah,
one of the sub things I find really interesting is when you ask them all the same question, the different answers you get. So
yeah,
really sort of recent one, probably a couple of months ago, was where you'd ask, I think it was Google, to do like a historical picture of Civil War America and the
Right.
founding fathers.
Mm.
Um, Obviously, that's a historical event, but it came up with like a completely inaccurate historical photo.
Wow.
Um, so it had sort of the founding fathers as sort of from all over the world, which we all know not to be true because we've all sort of done school GCSE history or
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
might be. So it's things like that that they've got
Mm.
these little quirks and then they need to work out. And they're all going to have different case uses.
Yeah.
Claude is something we're going to look at in the coming months, and
Yes.
that is the sort of consensus is it's very good at sort of reasoning and providing training, so it doesn't just spoon feed you the answers. It can help you
Right.
get there
Helps you
and
get the
learn.
answer. Yeah, yeah,
Whereas ChatGPT is more like it will just go, here you go, like here's the
yeah.
answer, which isn't necessarily useful if you don't understand what you're expecting the outcome to be.
Yeah, and also, and that's a really valid point because also for me, and I mentioned this on the webinar yesterday, I've used ChatGPT. Well, I use it all day, every day, but I use it recently to analyze a legal document I was sent. It's like 100 pages long and of law that I do not understand. And just to clarify, I was not using ChatGPT to give me legal advice. And this is the thing, I think people should use it to help them be better, not to necessarily give them the answer, or don't necessarily rely on the answer. So I would never ask ChatGPT to give me legal advice because it's obviously super important and I need to get a lawyer to do that. And I have a lawyer. But the reason I use ChatGPT in this scenario is I don't understand a lot of the words and the language and stuff like that. So I want ChatGPT to make it simpler for me, summarize it, point out any key things it thinks could be an issue for me as a business owner or might go against my best interests and those kind of things, so that when I have the meeting with my lawyers to go through it, I'm already in a kind of better position to discuss it with them and say, this is how I understand it to be. Is that right?
Yeah,
To my lawyers, like, this is what I understand you're saying in this part of the legal agreement. Is that right? Okay, let's move on. This is what I understand you're saying, rather than going, I don't understand, don't understand, don't understand. So I just think it's really useful for things like that.
yeah. So you're using it to sort of make them the
Hi,
most out of that
Penelope.
meeting
Penelope's
as well.
watching.
So you're going to improve sort of the outcome, and you're not just going to be asking a series of questions that you could have investigated by yourself, which you have,
Mm,
and you're going to get down to like sort of the bones of the situation, which is far more useful for everyone to spend their
yeah.
time that way. And that's a really good point. I was chatting to one of the team members, and we've had a real mix in the team about the adoption.
Mm,
Um, but funnily enough, when people have started using it, they've all come back to me and said, oh, I'm really excited by it. So
yeah.
one of the team has used it to pick up a repetitive task, and they were sort of on the fence, and they sent me a message going, I love AI, I'm going to use this every month.
Yeah.
Um, and we've also so we introduced it to everyone, and one of the team members came to me the other day and sort of said, oh, um, one of the family members got a new lease, really fantastic. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, they need to do a business plan. I was like, let me guess. And he went, yep, you got ChatGPT to help them sort of like get the bones of it, and they won the
Yeah.
lease,
Yeah.
which I thought was amazing. Like, and so that could have sort
Mm,
of really held them up, but they were able to sort of like use that as a basis to then like build upon a business plan themselves.
yeah.
Um,
That
Whereas,
sort of thing's so good. Like, I've done it before where like a bank has gone, can we have your business plan? And I'm like, and then back in the day, before AI, we know how soul destroying it is to have to write a business plan to try and get finance, try and get a bank account open, to try and get whatever it is you need, lease, for example. To be able to go to ChatGPT, right? I need a business plan. This is my business. This is what we do. This is what we're aiming to do over the next 5 years. Da 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 da. And it gives you, like you say, a template. You go through, you make sure it sounds okay, tweak any bits, add bits in, and you're done.
yeah,
Like,
that template and that starting point that's so crucial.
it is
Starting a job is by far and away the hardest thing you can do. Like
hardest.
starting an email response, starting any job that you're going to do is going, where do I start?
Yeah.
And AI like takes that sort of fear, I guess, away, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, it does definitely. Cool. So you touched on it very briefly, but Claude, can you tell us a little bit more about Claude?
So Claude is one of the major competitors to ChatGPT. So it's run by a French company called Anthropic, and it got a massive new round of funding earlier this year to sort of push it on to the next level. when you look at the sort of like league tables, as it were, it's constantly swapping places with ChatGPT about which is the most powerful model.
Mhm.
So at the moment, a lot of these are sort of performing to like an undergrad bachelor degree level. And the view is they're sort of barreling forwards towards being able to sort of have PhD reasoning. So I'm really interested to see who gets there first. Claude is slightly different in the fact that I don't think it has, it's my understanding that it doesn't have internet access. Now, these are changing so fast that I
Yeah.
may be wrong on that, but last
Yeah.
I checked, it didn't go out to the internet, get you the answers like ChatGPT does, but
Okay.
it does have really strong reasoning powers, and people prefer it for writing tasks.
Okay.
They feel like it gives a better response and it doesn't sound
Mm.
as botty like we've seen with
Yeah. Yeah. We hate the
sometimes.
botty sound. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that I think people need to be exposed to, because it depends what you're using it for as
Mm.
to what one you might pick. I think
Yes.
a lot of people will default to ChatGPT because it's the one that's so prevalent in the news, and it's by
Mm.
far the biggest. The investment that OpenAI have got is staggering.
Insane.
They've obviously they're massively loss making. I think that their burn rate is staggering. They
But
kind
I
of
mean, it's common with all tech companies anyway to be loss making because they
yeah.
they know that what's coming, and I'm sure with ChatGPT it's the same. Like they're going to take billions probably in losses before they then turn it around.
Yeah, and they need to get people like I say, they sort of bring them in with the free version, but it's the advanced uses where the cost comes in for the most
Yeah,
part. Like
yeah,
$20 a month, most people isn't gonna cover their costs for
no,
what's out there.
no,
So yeah, Claude is something that we're going to look at in a bit more detail. I've seen people recreate whole web pages from it, so you can sort of
yeah,
take a screenshot and go create this dashboard for me.
yeah. And like
Um,
as well, I remember when you and I were talking about AI like months and months ago. So before we started Smooth AI, before we started really using it, and we were like both thinking, we're both saying, really would love to like use it more and like it'd be really good to look into it and see what we can do. And we were those people that we're now kind of attracting with Smooth AI. We were those people kind of going like, how would it be best to use it, but really wanted to.
and what I think we've realized since is we were already using it like
We were,
every single day.
yeah,
We might not have been using ChatGPT as frequently as we are now, which is constant,
yeah,
but so useful. But we were using it in sort of so many facets, like Dext uses
yeah,
it,
yeah.
um, like Zero's obviously releasing it. There are so many
We use a
things.
bot, don't we, for some bookkeeping and stuff like
Yeah,
we use it in so many different ways. Like, yeah,
you just don't realize. And I think that's
no,
a really good way to like get people to realize it's not scary. Like I will be shocked if you're not already using it in
yeah, in
some way,
some way,
shape, or
shape, or
form.
form. Yeah,
And you probably don't
definitely.
realize. And it's difficult now because sort of everything is branded up with
Mm.
AI, but and it can be difficult to understand what that element is, and
Mm,
how it can be useful to you. So we can
yeah.
hopefully help people decipher that and work
Yes.
through.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, Penelope. Do you have any questions for us today before we wrap up on our podcast? Penelope's always so committed. She comes to most of the things, webinars and stuff. Possibly not. Okay, well, we are going to upload this to YouTube because we should have streamed it live and it didn't work. So I apologize. We will stream live next time. But details will be in the description below about how you can join Smooth AI. We have a free bundle at the moment worth over £600 of recorded webinars on various different AI methods, software and data protection webinar, chat GPT prompt sheet, AI usage policy template. All of that is a free bundle worth over £600 if you join this week. So www.smoothai.co.uk is where you can go if you want to join our membership group. We're going to close doors on Sunday. So if you want to learn more about AI and how you can use it in your business, so that's why Susanna couldn't find it in YouTube yet. So sorry, Susanna. But it will be on there. We're going to upload it very, very soon. And yeah, if you want to learn more about how to use AI on your business in bite-sized chunks and easy kind of digestible learning segments, then come and join us in Smooth AI. Thanks, Sam. We
Thanks,
will
Jerry.
be back again next month with our next installment of our podcast. And yeah, see everybody soon.
Bye.
See you later.